Next.
Hi, my name is Lark Emerson. I am associated with Bread for the City, NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, DC Grassroots Planning Coalition, and the Fair Budget Coalition. I want to state just a couple of points and then I'll tell my personal story. Just to let you know, I'm greatly opposed of what Greater Washington is supporting. The myth about supply and demand is just that, a myth. We have a huge unemployment rate, and there's a huge willing working folks here that need housing, stable housing, and better career paths to do whatever workforce that needs to be needed here. We need to stop trying to cater to outsiders coming into the city. Like, that needs to stop. Privatizing public housing isn't the answer. The elderly and the mentally ill are being displaced. I want you to see a picture of my mother. This is my mother. She's a black woman. Okay, she turned 90 last year. Okay, so when I say I'm talking about my mother, it's not an Asian woman, it is a black woman. Okay, she lived in the city and she got displaced. I had a home in DC in 1620 C Street Northeast. She is a ward of the state and she got displaced out of the city. Okay, I know several black women who are elderly that can't afford to live in their homes. So I'm going to just mention home ownership since we don't talk about it that much. Okay, when they're elderly, they can barely maintain their homes. That's happened throughout all types of public housing, renters as well. We are being displaced because these buildings are falling apart, and we're letting them fall apart and then evicting people out of them. And then that's how gentrification happens. That's why rent control needs to be expanded. And we talk about reparations. Reparations needs to be just helping fund upkeeping these homes. All right, I know too many people that don't even qualify as elderly, but their homes are falling apart. And with Social Security, there is no ways and means of upkeeping their homes. My mother should have had the right to stay in her home and had her family take care of her. But because she's a ward of the state, they displaced her and put her in a living Maryland facility, a living assisted facility in Maryland. And I know my mother is not the only one that has been displaced out of this city. And I'm afraid to see my fellow neighbors being displaced out of this city. I'm here to make sure that everyone has a right to this city. Public housing, renters, homeowners have a right to this city. Being systematically displaced out of this city, I'm sorry to say, you've dropped the ball, Anita Bonds. And I need you to hold up and make sure that every DC resident can stay in their homes. Another point I want to put in is my own income. I just got hired as an organizer, and my own income will be more than half just for housing in this city. Okay, I had to leave my mod rehab housing also because my home got broken into and my car got shot up twice. My mental health went plummeting. I wanted to commit suicide because my housing was that bad. But I'm gonna also say dismantling low-income housing isn't the solution either. More funds need to be put into communities to support and help parents. I'm tired of also the rhetoric of always putting so much money into schools. Trauma-informed care should be done in the homes. I don't know how many times, and I'll be honest, I wanted to hurt my own teenagers. Communication skills, anger skills. People are mad and upset in their own communities. Therapy needs to also be free for families that are going through trauma within their own communities. Support these communities. Make sure that they have the resources they have. We don't need to do these band-aid solutions of putting so much money in schools. We need to support the parents. So viable means to make sure that parents get a job, have better communications with their kids, will help it uplift these communities. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. Ms.